Hi guys. I'm kind of suffering a little bit of a slight winter or something, so I had to take my mask off. The dog, he shakes, and even though he's hypoallergenic, but the dust itself settling in the car is enough to kind of scrape the lungs during this time. I didn't put on any makeup. I am having, it's the weekend, so I have to do a Pond's cleanse of my face. And this gets rid of the peeling skin because I have sunburn. Believe it or not, I'm dark, right? But I'm light. So, yeah, I have to be very careful of what it is that I bring to my workday situation. This is my nightgown. I didn't quite get in it. It was super cold. So I have a dress over my shirt. And it is assuredly one of those moments where I'm picking the pajamas out from the back. And I will be going with that tonight. It is it is something. It's it's cold, right? So one of the things, I'm sorry, and I'm gonna try to keep my tissues near so I don't do the blow out. Blow back. But I wanted to talk about what it is, which is how they have like Chanisari, which is kind of the culture, the artistry, the traditions, things that work their way into sculpture, balance, the workman of an Asian type, of traditions of Asians, and we see this all over the world in art, in language, in writing. When you go to Chinatown, you see a big placard of their pride of their people, but also welcoming you to discover the delights of Chinatown. There is and it's a word I'm kind of stealing, and it would be noir, noir risserie, right? So, and I'm sorry, I didn't take French, and it's bad, but here's my chance to own it as black noir risserie, uh, to try to say Chinesery, but also to say there is an artistic foundation that's here and set up in America. This month is Hispanic Asian Heritage Month, which is heading out, but for and that's good because there is something to celebrate with every culture here in America, including that which lends itself to Latinx. There are quite a few people who make quite a difference in the world. They're out on broadcast, and they take pride in being able to field everything public facing in the news, as well as back office news and sports. And this is a very prideful people that I have encountered that with familiarity. And then there is something about the black noir noir noircissary, which is our culture, our art, and the things that we bring into the public domain. And this is an artist's kind of plight, is that it doesn't. How do you tell people to copyright and protect and trademark everything, which they have to do for ownership and for value. And so I want you to manage your life as in the same way. Why wouldn't I want you to do the same thing that other people do? Shout out to those who have great leg, great bottom, great all that. But this is what it came from. A long time ago, Mary Hart on Entertainment Tonight, when she crossed her legs, about 1 billion men on the planet had a fatal attraction moment. And she ended up having to insure her legs because that one cross step, sit like a lady, and actually everyone kind of in the world went, did you see that? And she was like, you know what, I'm gonna have to insure these legs for like about $1 million a piece. And this came up on the news show and everybody was like, okay, and wait for it. Cross. And we were all like, oh, okay. So $1 million a piece, okay. And with inflation, $5 million a piece, right? So that was way back in the day. And I just wanted to say that there are things that you do and you show people, but it's not copyrighted. It's not trademarked. And you don't have insurance on it. So once it disappears, even though you're trying to sell it, you have no ownership rights to it whatsoever. And when it changes hands, even though your signature's on it, you easily could be doing certain things that actually afford you an opportunity to trademark. Is it cheap? Is it easy? I think it might be something worth looking into. So I might just take a look at how the trademarks work and how they work out themselves. Now, I know in business you can get the trademark as soon as you open your business. So that's something that can just go hand in hand. You can also do a DBA, as I think you can do a DBA and trademark both the DBA as well as, which is your pseudonym for your business. So your name could be, Johnson Smith, but you don't want Johnson Smith, to be the name for, Kodak, right? So the DBA name would probably end up being used as Kodak, right? So Kodak Film, that's how you do it. Or something that, as it relates to cameras, Canon, that's what you do. But your name is not Canon. Or it may be Canon, but you just want the pseudonym out there. And that's your trademark. So when most of the time we start off as a family business and or something like that, small mom and pop, then we put the name on it. Jerry's Diner, even Papa John. He's got his name as John, but now he's Papa John, right? Or Giovanni, So it's the same thing going on here. And so I would suggest that we will open it up some things to trademark, and because they're personal to you. But what happens is, in the artistry of it, it can if something happens, it can be rebranded, but it protects you. So we talked about protections in line of sight of Kim Kardashian. Well, she's had to go through numerous things of people who steal her outfits, the wigs, the hair, that trickle down to, plain folk like me. And then it gives us the opportunity, I'm sorry, the dog is cuddling, so to be able to afford such luxuries. So I'm having a redo during the rain, even though I have the cold and the head cold. And I'm just going to cut everything out and re-braid it in. And and I was thinking of, doing something with crocheting, but it just depends on how I feel. And then and it's a little bit wet, it's a little bit rainy, so it will be a little bit easier to kind of suds up the hair, wash the hair, rinse the hair. I also have my 5-gallon, and I don't have the topper for it yet, but it does, I have 2 other gallons, so we're just going to be using probably 2 cups of water for rinse, which I'm going to get together. I've been saving my cups, and we're going to try to, everything's going to be cold, and then I'm going to have my towel, and then I won't have a hair dryer. But what can happen is, I know if I wanted to make an appointment, I can make an appointment to cut it out, and then I would just be wearing my hair natural for a while, and then they can wash it. Sorry about that. And at the hairdresser, there are some hairdressers that work with braiders. So if you're near a hairdresser that works with a braider, you could probably walk in and they'd cut you the deal just to wash your hair and blow dry it so that it would be blow dried. And believe it or not, those I want to say, I don't want to be like, culturally biased, but the the Hispanic sisters, cause that's a whole continent of people. Okay, like we're a whole continent, but we act like we ignore certain people. They don't ignore. They can't do that there. And South America is full of people they're very have a lot of pride, and they can't be discriminatory to certain people, even if they're a little bit different. Those people might keep to themselves, but traditionally they're not going to turn you away if you based on different hair to wash it. These women do what it takes, and they're not like, they don't get here and say, well, I'm never going to wash that type of hair, or I'm never going to do this. And the funny thing is, I was near Fort Detrick, right? So, and I look around, I'm like, it's Hispanic, it's black, it's all this. And the white lady in the hair cuttery was like, yeah, I don't do black hair. I was like, you don't cut black hair? So, okay. So I said, well, that seems like it's black, noricity, because that gives the black barbershops the chance to do all the cutting of black males' hair, and to take care of shorty hair too, because a lot of our hair, and that was the only thing, I have blonde on my tips of my real hair, and that gives them a chance to do the lift and the coloring. Women who have hair and need it like dyed, because they do quick dye for the male, they do quick braids, they handle that. And the last thing you want to do is come into winter and not have a style that you have to keep wet. Excuse me, I am so bad. So because this happens. So you're trying to, if you want to keep wet hair during the winter, that would explain a lot of why I had colds. So I'm trying to get with the program, but I am just having such a time of it. But notice the upgrade in the side curtains here. Yes, because it's black. No, it's us. It's a honorary or whatever. Look, people, was she doing in our neighborhood? And I was like, excuse me, I'm waiting for mail at the, at not the post office, but at the, at the other post office, the Brown. And she said, and I have to wait for my packages. And I said, I can. I said, and then I'm just said, I'm going to wait out the storm. It's 4 or 5 days of a storm. I get to get my hair done. When I get back on the road, I will be she cute. I will be better. I will be all that. But for now, I'm just going to, like I said, use my 2 cups for rinse. And I'm using a shampoo that is it's a quick rinse shampoo. So it should do very well to get the dirt out and to get the scrubbing out. And I do a quick cut. So it's very windy out, but I have to cut my hair outside the car. But that's what a chair is for. And so I'll be pulling out the chair and doing the hair and doing that. And I could cut it in the car. And I have cut his hair in the car. But then again, that's why I'm all stuffed up. Because I was doing a little bit of taming of his hair. And it turns out that, I'm all choked up inside. So I've been adding my stuff to this, and now he's keeping close to my body, and he is real tired. So hopefully he'll head back over to his bed and probably go to sleep. He is really tired. So we're a little bit tired. So we are we're just gonna do the best we can. I cut his hair for the winter, but I have his sweater and he has a raincoat. I have a poncho that I bought from the dollar store, which I thought would be very healthy, especially in cases where I have to go out and and take care of things with the bucket. Well, I'm already ponchoed over, and I got my hoodie on from the poncho, and it's just I can just be on the bucket and be happy here, happy days. I did have a little bit of trouble with the excess, so I think I'll do like a cut on the curtains, and then I think it should be good. Other than that, I found some nails that really keep the stuff in, and only one fell completely, and that was over here. So I think I'm going to be adding a few nails over here, but this has held up pretty well. I'm like really happy. The one on the side, it's okay. I've got it flush with other things over there, so it's doing well. And then this one in the front has done really well. So I don't expect them to last forever. But it's a really good idea until I can actually get the more plastically ones that I had with the grommets up. Excuse me, and get those working. And I'm so sorry about this nose doing its nosery thing. But I do have some more elaborate ones, but I think just cutting the bottoms, and I'm not cutting the bottoms on the sides because they don't bother me, but just cutting the bottoms for the window, because my window it has some height adjustments to make, and I don't need it to come too far down. So it'll take away some of the heaviness, make it a little bit lighter for the top part, and then I just have to add some nails into this side for the day before it gets dark. And I will say it does get dark pretty early now, and I'm glad. I spent about 2 hours on this one over here, because because I have some stuff in the front for the dog and I, in terms of our kitchen is supposed to be up front. But now I'm not completely serious about what I want to do. And I don't even know what to do. But this cheaper, I'm sorry. And when I say cheaper kitchen, it's a box. It's not even plastic, but it's open-ended and on the top side, and I can stick stuff in it, and it just leans just right. I was thinking of getting a plastic bin and sliding it in, but that's where I just keep the kitchen stuff that I'm supposed to use, and a couple of other stuff that's a mishmash. And I'm trying to be a good person. So the reason the nightgown is in is because that's how I try to get dressed. Arms up and getting dressed, and it's there. So, but it's so cold here at night, because it's hitting, I think it's like, I don't know, let me just take a look real quick. And somehow I was supposed to become a snowbird, which means you're supposed to ideally head down to Florida, but they're having a hurricane. And so I was just like, so yeah, I mean, it's like, it's just above, like, just between hitting like what it feels like to feel like it's in like the high 30s and the low 40s is the forecast. So definitely not the 70s. But it is good because it's in the daytime. It does get up. It's hitting somewhere up near that point, but not today. So I am hoping to either get some rest and take it easy, but also get outdoors as well, and not overdo it too much. So I think we'll be fine. And I think we just have to be committed to doing the best that we can do. So I'm going to do my ponds. I'm going to either cut the hair out and we'll start afresh. I did put some new pieces in the front. That's why it's a little bit lighter there. And it doesn't take very long for me to braid. I'm a very fast braider, so it's not too calamitous, but with the head coat, it will take a while. So he just wants water. Walk back over there. And we should be good. But that's what happens. Every day just continues. And while I'm doing the hair, if I do it, I have my smock on already of a dress. And I keep this on because if you are a girl and you're changing your clothes, the dress especially if you keep a loose dress with you, you can easily slip out of the arm part and then have the rest of it to put your shirt on, to put your bralette on or bra, and then to also you can use the bottom, and it covers you up while you put on your pants. And you if you don't have a dark shower curtain that you have figured out how to rig up so that you can have privacy, you might actually feel just a little bit discombobulated by days like this. So I would say this isn't my first coldest day. I had gone up to Ohio just about like a month and a half ago. Past Ohio into Michigan, and those were my coldest days. But boy, did it get uncomfortable as I headed back down, and I ended up near Knoxville. I was like, oh, I wish I could be back up north. Oh my gosh, I've gone too far. So I'd gone to Kentucky even, and come on the way down, and I was trying to, but I was really trying to head towards Alabama. I wanted some barbecue, I ain't gonna lie. And so, but I just said, I can't deal with the heat, and we were just having a horrible time of it. So on my trek to find some barbecue, I just said forget it. But I ended up going someplace and they had good barbecue, so I was really happy. And I was really happy. So I don't know where we went, but it was just, oh, thank goodness I found it. It's mine. I'll take it. And I think that's sometimes the best that you can do. So that's where I am. Now, I promised myself never to try to do the video without makeup, or without, like, during that time applying my makeup, because I didn't want to have the nuances of the chat without looking a little bit better. And I remember saying that to myself. So I'm going to redo this video. But I did want to get that word out there, because all the things I see, all the things I do, I want them to have Black pride be among them. If you're going to say Black Lives Matter, then support the Black art, support the Winfred Marcelluses, support, and Bradford Marcellus, and support and may he rest in peace. I think one of them passed, the older brother passed, and also support the things that you love about the arts. I cannot get enough of Ella Fitzgerald. So even before I listen to Christmas music, I kind of wind down and listen to Ella Fitzgerald. And the funny thing is, I wasn't really a big fan, or not a big fan, or not that into it, until my friends from Sweden were like, we need Ella, we need anything jazz, blues, anything like that. And you just realize you just get away from it. You don't even watch, like, it's an annual thing to watch It's a Wonderful Life. It's not an annual thing to watch Lena Horne's Stormy Weather. And I think it should be essential watching. She's just so magnificent. And it's actually a very beautiful film. It's one of those films where everything is pretty beautiful. Black is not pretty beautiful, it's beautiful. It is black, noir, no sari, so it's artistry, it's beautiful, it is amazing. And I can tell you right now, Lena Horne, she takes your breath away. She's such a beautiful, and with that beautiful voice and her beautiful face and figure. It was beautiful. And they had to go through a lot. Remember, they were allowed in the studios, but even then, it was a tough call. Everything had to be perfect. So you really have to not take it for granted that they would have had to have people on to do their makeup, do their hair, do everything, and really have it be a complete black noir, you know, history. Because this is them, and you have to remember people did not have someone on hand, and this went away from the shadow of the black mammy in the house. She ain't no black mammy. She's a performer, and even then it was tough. Different entrances, different places, and performances that had to be flawless because people were watching. So this is the type of thing that I think about it, but the artistry itself is wonderful. Cab Calloway should be mandatory watching. There are so many people, artists, museums, the musicians, but his performance, his command of the stage, seeing everything that goes on, being the orchestrator of this big band music, and it's like amazing. His cues, his knowledge, the knowing, it is amazing, and it makes you feel wonderful. The twins that tap danced also, oh my goodness, I can't remember the name, but boy do I love them. Oh God, they could just move and slide, and it was so amazing. All of these things I saw are all black and white. They're a black and white filmography. So it is a pleasure to actually see it colorscaped and in color and scenographically done over again. So even you know, some of the films I watch are redone in color, and that, and it takes your breath away. And so you have to remember there is an incredible world out there of dancers, actors that came across in this black and white cinematography. That they're artisans, the artistry, the that cultivates something within you. The black balls that were done, where you looked the same, outfit, everything had to be perfect. These were the pictures were done up and kind of remade over, but these were black and white pictures, photos of young girls who were ready, and they had dances that you had to learn. We were not excluded from this type of pageantry. And it may come from aristocracy, but it made its way even into our history. And there are nuances to this that still go on this day. Even in Russia, in order to meet someone, in order to be successful, you have to take up ballroom dancing or dancing of some kind. Culture for culture, I would have to say. If you've ever seen Hispanic people, one of the things you'll see is that culturally, maybe you don't notice it as much, but when they go out dancing, it is couple to couple, and for the nuances of it, it's not as dirty and hippie as they make it seem on television. You know what I mean? Sometimes it may be that maybe later, but I tell you, even when I went in the summer, it was just jeans, a reasonable pair of jeans or slacks, and a darker top. If you're younger and you're going to the clubs, but if you're older, reasonable shirt, top, and a reasonable pair of jeans. It's not all that glitz and blitz. And you have to, and it was amazing. Sometimes it presents itself that way, but in the genre of dance, it's let's get dressed up, let's get cleaned up, and then take it out. And you have, you would think you would have to wear the most um, expressively sensual clothing, but no, you wear a nice loose top. You want to be able to do this. And it's a little bit slower. Some people just have the moves and everything in the steps, but it's not as it's not so much our Black Noir. It seems more, dirty dancing, but these dancing in the dance steps, including your traditional waltzes, these type of thing, it depends on which dance it is. There are more sensual dances, and but that's where you would watch a ballroom dancing show, and you would really see what the dancers are doing. But why do we watch them half dressed, right? It's the costume, it's the pageantry. But when you actually are doing it, you're dressed. And you want either the skirt to see the legs, but you don't need it that short. And you want either, ideally, long pants on, if it's winter. And you're going to wear what you feel comfortable in. Because ultimately, the idea is to incorporate is to have something familiar and to enjoy the evening with your partner or with your family or with older people, and then you stave off death. You have some exercise going. So you have a dance partner who's your wife. Go out as older people and go and do this. It's amazing. And all it takes is jeans. And the funny thing is I would, and it seems counterintuitive, but much like a country line dancing, I would almost prefer to have a boot cut leg pant than I would actually like to, even with that, like with line dancing, I would, where you might have someone with the dress, but I would actually prefer to have a boot cut jean and then just a nice blouse, something that is will allow you to move. This is very stretchable. It has a stretch here and around, and it's perfect for that. It's not too, and then just have, and then not be exhausted because you're pulling on everything. You want the flow, but then you want the beauty and calm. And it's not, like I said, it wasn't glitzy. The colors were like it was like burgundy, hunter green, black, a lot of black, blue jean, and then black, and that was it. Maybe a belt, but everything was just wonderful. I had so much fun, and I was the one all glitzed up. I looked like a disco ball. But for the most part, I also realized that the people who I worked and live around were very conservative, and more conservative than I was. And they had, if you came out in anything like bright, like trying to aspire, they didn't like it. They were like, no. But then when you're a gospel singer, you have I don't know how to explain it, but you have to have, it's almost like they make it seem like you have to have the quintessence of trendy, trendy, trendy. Be very trendy, look very good. You know, if the jeans have a rip in it, yours is exaggerate. You add more cuts. If the hair is big, it's bigger. If the makeup is fierce, it's fiercer. And gospel music is changed. I mean, the ushering in of that is, it's changed. It's become where that is your fashion house. If you want to know, if you want to dress gospel singers and be in fashion, it can be a very high stakes fashion game to be in a gospel choir and to have all that going for you, and to do it in street clothes or to do it in very dressy clothes. I've been to the African church down the road. Some of the clothes that these people wear, they're beyond, a month's or 2.5 months salary. Some of them are, it depends on the maker and the remaker of the maker and if they put work into it themselves. Some of it's hand stitching and it's beautiful. It's beaded, it's subtle beading, it's wonderful. The lines straight, the cut, maybe a line tight to the bodice straight, and then beautiful jackets, amazing tops, and lots of corsets, lots of lace, big bows, jackets, colors from what I would essentially say African, South African, and very beautiful, beautiful girls. Makeup absolutely done to a T, and this is the money of money. This is the style of style. This is something where it's very beautifully done. And the setting behind it could be a beautiful house, could be a beautiful car, it could be the church itself or the church grounds, and you marvel when you go in. There are so many wonderfully beautiful African people, and the dances from different African places, a lot of them are a very, very movement aesthetic, done better with 1 to 2 to 3 to hundreds of people. It's amazing, and that's how the earth should be, that the world rejoices and dances in church and has that moment to be extremely, extremely pleasing. It is a wonderment. And I remember one time I was at Cedar Ridge, and it's a blend. It's a blend, and it's got a nice, I would say it's a blend, but it tickled me because it was one of the first churches that I had gone to, that was kind of these emergent churches where it's kind of church for the unchurched, very welcoming for the tech community, very welcoming for different inclusivity groups like gays and Asians, blacks, Africans, and you always feel like it's going to be a new, more growing of intimacy. Very progressive, very progressive. So movies in church, a live band, the latest Christian songs, but intimacy was the goal of the day. Intimacy with Christ, and I enjoyed that so much. Highly recommend them. Highly recommend you shop around for a new church. as churches open up, and see which one fits you and your lifestyle for intimacy. Visit several of them, but try, I think for me, I'm ready to seek and ask God to help me find, a new residential church. But anyway, they have everything you need, and sometimes you're right at the church you need to be at, and you don't need to leave and go anywhere. So I'm not really looking. I'm just saying. I would look if I wanted to, but you can visit different ministries and organizations, and you'll see how the worship is and what it feels to you. So, if as long as it doesn't knock you away from your faith, and understanding that you are who you are with Christ, He chose you. But if there's something, basically that happens, please go with the open mind that you're going to visit, you are a visitor, and you come back home to familiarity. And on coming home and returning home, hopefully people show you the love, and in that you have ownership of whatever made you the prodigal. Okay, but don't freak out too badly. Christ is he's amazing. So he'll meet you right where you are and right where you stand. A lot of people have salvation outside the doors of the church, but the church itself supplements, encourages, and can be such a great place for learning and teaching you, so that when you do cry out finally, I surrender, well, you've already been shown how to by 1,000 other people who were around you. You didn't learn that by accident. You just practiced it. So that's the difference. I have to practice it too. And that humbling humility of knowing I don't know everything. I can't win. I need God for everything. And it's a wonderful feeling. And some people give up on it and they say, I don't want it anymore. And so that doesn't have to be you. It doesn't have to be the end of your story. They taught you. Hey, Father, I'm here. I need you. I cannot do this by myself. Please be my Lord and Savior. That's it. It's not big. They've been saying, priesters, pastors, your family, they've been telling you for years. And they've been repeating it. And the moment you say it, it's yours. And when people try to tell you you're not of Christ, don't listen to them. There's a saying in the Bible, if you take these little ones away from me, the little ones, they saw Jesus. They knew who he was. They had heard his voice instinctively. They ran to him, and the disciples said, get away from Jesus. No, you can't go near that holy man. No, these children have been playing in the mud. Get away from my Savior. And Jesus said, no, let them come to me. And you need to come to me just as happy as they came to me. Just like these children. Be like them. Come to me, and this is what I'm showing you. This is how you should come to me. Hey, I'm a Father. Hi! It's not always I surrendered, but it's, hey, I'm so happy to connect with you. I'm excited. Have you ever talked to, this is how I put it. Sometimes I talk to somebody and it's like, maybe it's a marketer or maybe it's somebody I don't want to see. And you're just like, yeah, okay, well, we're not interested. I'm not, and we're polite. We're tolerable. Some people just don't open the door, and some people will slam the door in your face on purpose, depending on their interaction and what they're feeling at the time, right? Sometimes people will get a bullhorn, so that you never return. But then, when it's somebody you want to see, when it's somebody you want to be involved with, you are delighted. You're delighted. You may be reserved, but you're delighted that they're there. You're just delighted. Oh, I'm so glad you're taking one, girl. You know, and that is just the way with God. We invoke Him, and He's like our spirit. He is our spiritual. He's our spiritual dad. He's our spiritual mother, father, brother, sister, God. He's beyond that. He's the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the bright and morning star. He is everything. So, yeah, there's times when we learn to come back, and then between it, we practice welcoming God as if we were welcoming our friend, and it can create this frenzy that people don't understand. Walking in the Spirit and talking in the Spirit, and wanting to dance and leap out of your seat and just be like, I don't know, I just got this feeling. I just, what happened? I don't know. Is it something? Are you? And so that's what, culturally, I feel like, you can really feel it. You can really feel it. You can really sense it the way you want to sense it. Sometimes you don't feel it until you take a bow and arrow. And that arrow, you pull it back. And I'm not talking about you could use the easy bow too, the crossbow, but and then you hit the center and you make the mark. Sometimes it's like that, where you get that. Sometimes it's when you have that baseball and you have that glove on, and you see the pitcher, or you are the pitcher, and you're out, and the bases are loaded. It's the top of the game. And you're there, and there's an excitement. There's a buzz in the air. People are paying attention. You're in center field. You can see what's happening. And you're ready to see what's going to happen. You are captive. And you want to chase that moment. You want to chase that God. You want to see what happens next. And ultimately, life is about seeing what happens next too. What if I miss out? What if you do miss out? What are you going to do? I'm going to see what happens next. I had a bad day. I had a bad week. I had a bad month. I had a bad year. I had a bad year this year. I had 7 bad years. See what happens next year. See what God will do for you next year. I've experienced death. I've experienced derisions. I've experienced ghosting, gaslighting, nepotism, tardiness. I can't be on time for anything. See what it's like next year. I haven't visited any of the national parks. I haven't gone anywhere. Go to the closest one you can find and just take a picnic sandwich. Or just go by yourself and then just walk around for 5 minutes. Just get out of the car for 5 minutes. Just get out of you and into it. Can you feel it? Can you see it? Did you make it happen? Did you create all that? No. Is that your waterfall? No. Are those your mountains? No. Is that your tree? No. Is that your rock? No. But it's there for you. And maybe it doesn't happen then. Maybe it happens with your fishing rod. And you can see it and you get giddy. And you're like, oh, I got one. And it's a beaut. It's a beaut. But there's no one there to see it. And it's the one time where nobody showed up. But you have to trust that God was there. He's going to give you that nod, I remember the fish. you know. And what about that promotion you were looking for? And you're upset. You've been working, you've been doing, and you get it. What about that? What about that time you thought you were going to be fired and you were just demoted? And now you have to work your way back up the trust ladder. And you did it. And then you were out of your time of what? I don't know, where they watch you. You're off of probation. You ever been watched for a long time? You had that probationary assessment period. I have never gotten I do everything for this lady, and I do a self-assessment on myself that I have to turn in that shows all the work that I do, and I don't ever get credit for all the work I do. Did you write it down when you did it? Did you make notes about what you did, the timeline, what you accomplished, how it helped the business's bottom line? Did it bring money, savings? Was there a financial gain? Did you add to the bottom line of the contract? Did it increase business development? Did something happen where you made the team more efficient? Did you increase morality on the team? What did you bring? And because when it happens, it's happening. Are you taking some line notes so that when you do your self-assessment to get yourself the raise, to give yourself the credit, to be appreciated for who you are, when are you going to write that down? So you can add it to the bottom line of who you are, the characterization, the merits for which who you are, and every kind of qualification that you have been striving for all your life. When you do a self-personalized adaptation and you expect everything that your boss sees in you, and she's got 40, 30, 100, 60 regional offices of maybe even 200,000 people, and she stopped by once to shake your hand, and you told her one story out of all these people, and she's supposed to remember that you're a great person. You have to write down when you're great. You have to write down when you're good, and you have to make it known that this is something that has happened to you, and you love working for this company. Don't forget to put that you love working for your boss, you love working for the company, if these things are true. If they're not, don't worry about it. But ultimately, it's a part of the morale of the culture of that you find. And if there's something you like, write it down. Write it down. I really just I went to this one section and I just loved it. I loved it. I loved working with this director. Get their name, get their card, and if they send you off to training, say, I've been trained in this, and that. And what did the training do? How did you apply it? Why did they do that for you if you can't apply it? Well, did you go to training? What did you go to training for? What did you do? All the things that you've done for. Why are you? Then write it down. How it helps you. Because you are giving the company feedback on the culture of the company that you are a part of and how it creates synergy. The company helps you do your job by giving you this specific training. And I used to say, well, this company never trained me and I walked in cold and there's nothing I can do because wham-ambulance. But as most companies provide you with training, just remember your orientation is your training to get in the company, learn about the HR scene and what they expect from you. Time sheet, on time this, on time that, and who your manager is and the culture you have in that group, that's always going to be just a little bit different. Remember though, if they weren't for you, they wouldn't have interviewed you and they wouldn't have hired you. So beyond that, you have an A, know that you have an A. And when someone else doesn't like you or rubs you the wrong way, just remember, you don't have to become the office baker. You don't have to become anything. Just try to do your best and try to make it work. Sometimes you're dead and out of the water because you said something. Don't worry about it. Ultimately, just bide your time and try to remember that you will ultimately, excuse me, just have to make the most of the situation or ask to be transferred into a better location. If you cannot use your interpersonal skills, at that point in time, I just ask for another project to be added to your roster and just see, because maybe you have too much time on your hands or you're picking up too much information from people, and because you're noticing all these things, if that's the case, or you put something out there and then people didn't like it. So if that's the case, just mosey back into yourself a little bit and then say, can I get on another project? Can you give me some busy work that nobody on this team wants to take? Do you have some Slack projects I can do? And you'd be surprised what people will come up with. I remember, I was working on something and somebody said, look, I really need this done, blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay, well, I guess I can do it. And about 2 months later, when I figured out the logic, I wrote the code, finished up the code, and it was custom app. There was nothing I could do. It was nowhere in the world. Okay? Only, that's what you have to do. Because you can't borrow, you can't steal. You can only be the original you, And if she didn't think I could do it, she probably wouldn't have asked. And if I didn't think I could do it, I probably wouldn't have taken it on. So, there are some things that you can't take on, and maybe you get it and maybe you won't get it. I try to be very upfront with people and tell them I will not be able to do that. I will not be able to do that. And if I do it, I might find myself working day and night and through weekends to make, because logic, when you're looking for it in code and you're looking for the loops, you may not find it. And so you end up kind of going through and debugging on the same thing. If you're with a group of developers, it's different. You can quickly get some expertise. But sometimes what I found is that looking for the logic within yourself and not having anyone, it's the best experience. One time I had to write an app and table and everything and queries. And I think they gave me about 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours, something like that. And they sat me down and they said, can you create this? And yeah, if you don't have it, you're fired. We're going to let you go, or deeply consider letting you go. And I said, okay, well, it's a custom off the custom off the shelf. So I'm going to do it, right? So I said, gee, it's a COTS, and I got my hills, I got everything. I did, my work, and then I started to put everything together. And I finished up some of the decorating pieces of it, and and that's it. And I asked the person some pertinent questions in between, and I was starving. I don't even know if I got a chance to go to lunch, but I ended up just doing it. And it was like they gave me a time, but they were like, oh yeah, I'm leaving early. So I was like, okay, done. And I gave it over to them and everything. They was like, oh, I didn't get it. I was like, did you get it? And the guy was like, oh, that's perfect. You did everything I wanted. And I was like, yeah, because in my world, when somebody gives me something, the scope of it counts. I can't overly do it, and I can't not meet the criteria. So that's what you see a lot of times is people on TV. They give them something, a project to do, and then they're so fixated on winning and also putting their own brand on it, stick on it, that they don't do the project. by the scope of the project. They do it by what they thought that they should do that would make them stand out. They don't even end up finishing because they take on something to that it can't be done in the allotted time. I did everything very strict. I said you have this much time to do the code and this much time to do, the forms and the queries and the report that this person wants. And I need you to get all that working as a flush out, and then you can add in all the decorations that you want in that set of time that makes it look very cohesive and everything like that. But get all the buttons working and then run through your checks. So I have 5 checks. I have to check each button 5 times. I have to check each thing that they click 5 times, and that's it. So that's what I had to do, and that was so early on in my project life. But I had worked at a private company. I worked with an older guy, best job ever, and we were like transforming and converting some old databases to a new database. So we were trying to keep all the data and keep everything going. So we ended up doing this, and I was so excited because he is an older guy, and I was just like, I'm gonna rev up my game, yeah. He was like, boy, she's really competitive. This is the best fun I've had because it's the kind of competitiveness and confidence that brings out the best of the players. It's not the kind of thing where you don't belong at the table. It's the kind of thing where, I'm like, I'm hungry for it. I want to be there, and I want to show my enthusiasm. That's the same for Christ. He might give us a project. We've got to work through it to get to that next level. But that's what I'm saying. Before I could create the databases, before I could run the code, before I could see and do queries and reports, I was starting in this baby pool. Even before that, which said take the existing databases and convert them to upgrade them. So it's all maintenance within the maintenance window. And then it was getting on a project, working with a guru, and he was like, oh, I gotta tell you, you're the poorest developer I've ever seen. And I said, yeah, but I said, well, I'll do the best I can. If I do join a team, I'll do the design. So I can at least get that down, and I'll run the queries and do the debugging. So I'm good at finding, I can look at the logic, and I can shift that out. However, yeah, I may be terrible at trying to do the code and sneak in the commands and everything, but here are my strengths. You do the design, you do the outer process very gorgeously, and you have an eye for that. And this is old technologies, but it still pertains to even new technology. And so I also did the same thing for many other projects. And then when I told the person, I was like, up front, this is my weakness, this is my strength. We can either work on my weakness, or if that's your strength and we can work together, he said, tell me what the names are, get it all together of everything, and I'll map it out. And he said, yeah, you're gonna have to debug. I need you to debug the code down to no very little bugs, like 100 or 0. So we were working with a very big, debugger back then, and this like thrilled my heart. Like I was just like, I mean, I was so in love. And not many people can say that. But I was so in love with this debugger. I was like, oh, you're my friend. I couldn't help it. So then, and then I did the form. I figured every form. I finished everything, and I did all the the table data, the query data, the report data, everything. I set up everything in the background, and he added in the scripts. I worked on some of the scripts, but not as many. And he worked on most of the code. He was amazing, and I can't tell you how thrilled I was. I was just excruciatingly thrilled, and I remember like you know the day I came in and he said, "We can't use this. We're gonna have to start from scratch." And I just remember the both of us like sitting there crying. Like I've just debugged like a million lines of code and I'm going you know, so I said, "We can do this. We're a team of us." I was like, "I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it." And he's like, "Get me that." I was like, "Okay, let's just do this. Let's just regroup. We're regrouping. We're regrouping. We're doing this." And that is exactly what happened. Do you know they gave us a standing ovation, the user group? They loved him. And I mean, he gave me a little kudos, but we walked in and the user group for the pilot and everything that they had been through, they gave us a standing ovation. We listened. I included it. And I was just so surprised. It was just, that is what you dream about, stuff like that. So it was just amazing. So I was just it's just so perfect. It was a good moment. And so, and then and all of that was just regular. It was just regular stuff. You know, it was before I found out I love doing documentation. So that's it. Oh, and I appreciated all of that. I just loved it. Yeah, I smelled funky. I got up early. I stayed over weekends. Somebody said you have to stay the weekend. I stayed the weekend. You know, and the funny thing is, sometimes I got in the elevator and I had just left an hour beforehand just to go home, shower, and come back. I was not always in my right mind. So, you know, but I had the passion to keep going, to keep trying, to keep doing, and try to give myself an opportunity. I didn't want to be an angry person. I didn't want to be mean. I didn't want to look crazy. But I enjoyed my work immensely. I really did. So, you know, please don't ever think that you are, you are the lesser for anything. You are not. You know, people will try to make you feel like you don't belong and you can't do, but have a can-do attitude. Have it. Let yourself appreciate what it is that you bring to the table. Don't worry if it's not everything, and just enjoy yourself. Just enjoy who you are. And I can tell you, when I finished during the documentation, and I had such a passion for it, I was looking for another project to work on, similar to an older project I used to work on with an old friend, and I met with interference because I just could not. I was having so much trouble in the area of sleeping and insomnia, and they asked me to stay. They said, "Did you find a project?" They said, "We'll let you stay on for 8 weeks or 6 months. Your writing is your manual writing is good. You write really good manuals." And I think it had to do with the fact that the editor I worked with was like surprised, um, by the move, because, and I believe she may have said, "Why are you doing this?" to her, because she really puts her heart into trying to complete the documentation and trying to assert that she gets it done. She is and it was a joy to work with her as a tech editor. And so that she was so professional, and she asked the right question, and she got me. So if I, when I wrote things, and she would be, like, "Why did you put this here? What's going on here?" And I would be like, "Oh, this is what I meant here," So she worked really good with my ability to go through and write manuals, and it just, and everything. So I tried to make the adjustment, and that was hard, but I had already had a job, like, the minute. So I didn't have an issue with I had already had a job lined up. It was the I mean, because they were like, "Oh, do you have a job?" I was like, "Yes, I have a job already." Because sometimes when people don't want you, they don't realize that somebody else does. I don't think anybody, to tell you the truth, sometimes people see you as so insignificant that they don't even think dogs like you. Like, it's really funny. I didn't even know my family like even had any problems. Nothing was spoken of, and all of a sudden, I ended up going to, I think it was like Thanksgiving, with one of my guests who was like, I mean, we weren't together as a couple. I told him he could come so he could drive, because I didn't feel like driving. I get so tired on those trips. And and I remember, and he was a nice guy, and a nice Asian guy. And I said, "Would you like to have some soul food?" For Thanksgiving. It's kind of a mixed bag. You won't, you might like be the only one of your kind, but you won't be the only one of a kind. Meaning, there's a lot of different people that come, and they look very differently, but they, you might even find that there's someone like you who comes, because I'm always surprised at what happens at, Hudson's house. So, and how my family looks different, like they're a rainbow, you know what I mean? So cats and skittles. So I'm so stupid, don't worry about that. That is probably why I am not probably the happy camper. But yeah, when he came and we had to take turns holding the baby, because he cries without me, and I tried to tell, and I said, "You have to hold the baby or do something." And we took turns eating, and we were just, probably seemed like an old couple, but we were just babysitters for the dog. And nobody probably ever saw that coming, but it changes you. It changes you. Okay? To have one of those little dogs. And so he ended up, he'd eat a little bit, and then I'd eat a little bit. Oh, let me hold the dog now. He's crying. No, let me just get him. No, I've got him. So I put the dog down. I said, I've got to go to the restroom, okay? The dog was screaming and crying from the moment I left the room. And I walked back in the room, and there was just like this one, like my one cousin who's older, Russell, he goes, dog's been screaming since you left the room. He's been crying for you. Dog gonna cry for a woman. And I was like, he was crying, my baby was crying. Did anyone think to pick him up? Oh, you get defensive. You let my child cry. Why don't you take him to the bathroom door and just let him in? So he cried for you, though. I was like, yeah, he's a baby. He's a baby. What? He said, it's a baby. He's a dog. No, he's a baby. And people were like, my family was in disbelief that anybody liked me. Oh my God. Who is going to cry for her? So, yeah. So I came to him and he stopped crying because he was still kind of, I heard him like whimpering. I mean, and he is full on tears. Do you understand? I come from, like, when I come back in after he's been screaming, his eyes are wet. He has cried. He is very sensitive. So, yeah. I don't even worry about that. He loves his mama. I'm the mama. I am the mama, okay? Not the mama. I am the mama. You can see some dust rise up. He just, flicked his ears. So, yeah. Okay. Yes, it is not snowing in here. But, yeah. So, yeah. And so, yeah, no, he's asleep. Okay, so yeah, just like a dada, just really amazing, and I had to hold him the whole time home. Yeah, so and the guy did the driving, so we had a good time. And so. He just asked that I not do any stereotyping because at this point in time, I think all of the Chinese that I knew was from the Pigsty movie, Kung Fu Hustle. So I learned a few words, and he was just like, "Please don't try." I get it. And I was like, oh, well, it's not a sexual thing. I really did think I was learning a